Well, hello good people, it's your boy Johny-J, and I am traveling to a location I've never been to before. Super excited to go and check it out. I've heard that it's a really magical spot to photograph. I've got about 2 hours, 2.5 hours till sunset, so plenty of time to go around, find some compositions and check out what this spot has to offer. But the funny thing is, I came across it through word of mouth. You know, it's always a good idea to ask around. You just never know what someone with local knowledge can come up with as a great place to go and photograph. So that's how we found this one. All right, let's get there and I'll show you what we're looking at. All right, so we made it on site. We're just making our way down the rocks now. Listen closely. You can probably hear it. It's cranking. We had some rain yesterday, so I bet the water is pouring down. Well, that's what I'm hoping. Let's get a sneak peek. I think we can get a sneak peek at the top of it right here. Let's check it out. All right, so there's a rope to get down. Looks pretty dodgy, but yeah, anyway. The best thing to do in these situations is sit on your bottom and slide. So we're gonna do that by holding the rope and the camera. Wasn't too bad. I've got to admit, it wasn't terrible. This next part looks a bit dodgy, but we're down. That was pretty dodgy. I had to take my pack off and slide down on my bum, but we made it. We're down in the creek. Next stop, hopefully, is the waterfall. I can sort of see it off in the distance here. Got a few more rocks to clamber over and we should be there. Look at these boulders you've got to make your way through. This is crazy, man. Oh, this is insane. Ugh. Stretch, Johnny, stretch. Oh. All right, here she is. This is what we found. It's looking really nice at the moment too. There's a nice flow down there. The ferns are looking great on this wall over here. It's a pity about this big branch sticking in the scene. I think we'll have to make our way over that way, over this way a little bit, I think. But it's looking really nice here at the moment, that's for sure. Beautiful. This is super slippery, this rock. My God. Oh. Lucky I've got these boots on, they're pretty grippy. But geez, that's slippery. All right, I think I like this side. If you have a look down here, there's this really cool rock that's got the holes in it. I think that's really nice. Then we've got our leading lines, then our waterfall up here, and this lovely bit of greenery on the opposite side, sort of balancing out the rock and the leading line over here, and everything's nice and wet on this side too, which will look nice once it's polarized. The only thing I'm not 100% keen on is you can see how bright it is up here right now, so we've probably got to wait for the sun to come down a little bit. But let me get my camera set up and see what we can put together here for a composition. We finally got set up. Unfortunately, I couldn't film much of the setup. It's so tight in here and slippery. It's just really, really dodgy. But hey, we're set up and I've got a killer composition that I want to show you guys. Let's jump over to the back of the camera and I'll show you what I'm looking at here. All right, you can see in the top camera here, we've got this beautiful leading line. We're also including this rock down here, and you'll see in the composition in a minute. And lovely green ferns and rocks. I love the separation between these rocks and the green ferns. And the fact everything is really wet, it's just beautiful over there. And then we've got our waterfall in the top sort of third. And yeah, it's just, what a beautiful spot. Mate, I tell you, how good is word of mouth, you know, reaching out to locals and getting some local insider info. It's just awesome. So this spot is just magical. Really, really beautiful. All right, let's have a look at the back of the screen. We'll go through the composition here. As I mentioned, there's that rock. It's got some lovely little wet divots in it. There's a bit of moss on it in the foreground as well, which looks absolutely amazing. I love this gap over here. You can see there's a gap in there that sort of runs diagonally to the waterfall, that beautiful leading line there, and that wet shelf of rock. It's just, the colors are just absolutely incredible. So that's really, really nice. One thing I have done is I put on a percular polarizer, and look, so this is unpolarized. Look at particularly the water and the specular highlights on that rock on the right-hand side there. And if I turn that polarizer, you watch them just disappear, totally gone. Before, after, before, after. Mate, what a circular polarizer can do is just incredible, absolutely incredible. So let's have a look here. We're gonna go with F11. I'm probably gonna have to take it off auto ISO because it was something I was shooting a bit earlier on today. Have you ever done that before? Is like you've been shooting something at some settings and you get out to another location and you forget to change those settings? I don't know how many times I've done that in the past, but this time I remembered. So at F11, ISO 100, we're getting about, I'm gonna underexpose it a little bit there, and we're getting about, oh, it looks like we're getting about 1/6 of a second. So we can try that. Let's have a look at that. So what I will do there is, oh, that's looking nice. So what I will do there is I'm gonna turn my 2-second timer on. I definitely, for these long exposures, I wanna have hands free. I'm gonna focus about 1/3 into the scene, somewhere just on the right-hand side rock there, and we'll check that focus in a minute. So let's just take that first frame. We'll just double check that focus. Yeah, it looks nice. I'm loving the stream coming down. I think that's really, really pretty. Let's just zoom in now, make sure everything is nice and sharp here. Yeah, so foreground rock is looking nice and sharp at that focus point. All the rock on the side. Let's just check the waterfall now. That's looking really, really nice. I'm loving that. So one thing we do have to deal with here, and you'll see I'm gonna have to underexpose to get that little bit of sky there from not being blown out, because it's being blown out at the moment. Even though the lights dropped and we're about maybe 45 minutes from sunset, and I'm down in this deep little crevice on this creek, you know, everything is totally in shadow. So what I need to do is just underexpose for that sky there. So we'll take one for that while we're at it. Just take that there, and I'll play that back. And I always just like to double check my blinkies there. Yeah, there's a little bit of blinkies up in there, but it's not too bad. And honestly, probably what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clone some green up in there. Not a massive fan of those bright spots like that, but there's no way to sort of frame it out with this composition. Usually with a waterfall, what I try and do is not show the sky unless it's really impressive, like the sun's coming through, or you know, there's some magical clouds up there catching some light, which we don't have. There is some cloud up there, but they're not really doing anything. They're quite flat at the moment and just bright, overcast sort of light. So yeah, anyway, you can see that's why I'm not showing much of the sky at the top at all of that waterfall. All right, let's have another look here at our composition. Let's see if we can get this shutter speed right for the actual water now. Let's see here, I'll take another one of that. So we're at 1/6 at the moment. And this time what I want to do is I want to zoom in and have a look at the flow. I'm having a look at the flow of the water there and see if I like it. Yeah, I don't mind that. Actually, let's just have a look here. Probably slightly hot, so it's slightly overexposed. So I'm going to drop down to 1 now. And all I'm concentrating on is that water flow, okay? Let's have a look at 1 there. And as you guys know, if you've seen me shoot waterfalls before, I like a bit of texture in my waterfall. I like it silky smooth, but I like that. So at the moment, I am liking 1. 1 is looking really nice for a shutter speed for that. I think that's really pretty. So if you have a look at that, there's still plenty of texture in that waterfall there, and that's really, really pretty. All right, let's just take another one for the sky now. And underexposed there for the sky, right underexposed. Cool. Let's take another one for our waterfall. We're just putting it all together now. Beautiful. And let's take another exposure here for the rock. So I'm looking at the shadows, making sure the shadows aren't clipping now. That's what I'm interested in. That's looking pretty good there. Now we are going to have some darker shadows because there is a big ledge up there near the waterfall. So that is going to be dark in there, but I still want some detail in that area with my post-processing. So that's why we're opening it up a bit. So let's have a look at those 3 photographs there. So there's our first one. That's the first one for the shadows, you could say. And that's our water exposure and our sky exposure there. It's looking really nice. One thing I'm really careful is when you're starting to shoot long exposure, you sometimes get a bit of movement in the plants, and I'm really looking out for that as we have a look around. So just making sure nothing is really obviously moving in the wind. It's not too bad. I mean, there is a bit of airflow coming from the water flowing down, but it's not crazy down here. It's actually quite still. So as I pan around, most of the ferns are looking pretty good here. Even that one looks really good. That one's pretty sharp. Yeah, everything's looking really, really good. So at the moment, so that was 2.5 seconds and we weren't getting too much movement there with the ferns. So that's really, really nice. All right, so let me show you what I've done. I always looking at the composition, and I went through all the photos we took, and I've just adjusted things a little bit. So let me show you what I've done here. If we jump over to the camera, I've actually lowered the tripod down, and you can see that's the lower shot there, and that was the shot we had before. So I just like the fact that this is filling the bottom of the frame. That rock, particularly on the left-hand side, is adding a little bit more interest for me. So nothing wrong with tweaking your composition. I always do it, and I think what happens is you're refining your composition and you always end up with something a little bit better in the end. And what I was going to say actually with this new composition, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take 2 exposures for the shadows, and I'm going to focus stack the foreground just in case. So let's shoot the sky. So let's shoot our under for the sky. Let's do that. All right, let's shoot our second for our waterfall now. All right, let's do that. Beautiful. And then I'm going to take 1 for the shadows, focusing on the right-hand side. And just in case, because I'm pretty close to that rock now, I'm going to move my focus point down to this foreground rock, and I'm just going to take another one at that. Just in case, because I feel like right at the bottom of the frame, if I don't crop it out, it might be slightly soft. So I'll take care of that with a focus stack there. And let's have a look. Yeah, everything's nice and sharp down there now. Looking good in that foreground. Really happy with that. And let's go back through our images. That's our background shadows. That's our exposure for our waterfall there, which I'm liking about a second. You know, when it comes to shutter speed with moving water, it really is a personal preference. It's what your taste, the taste you like. And, you know, this is where you can do something like changing your shutter speed up to make the creative choice. You might like it silkier than I do. You might have to add more ND filters. But for me, I like to see a bit of texture in my waterfall. All right, let's have a look at that last one. That's just the sky exposure there. So all in all, things are looking wonderful. All right, so we're really close to sunset now. There's not much going to change with that light, I don't think, up there. I think I'm just going to go ahead, take 1 more set of frames, and that'll be it for this location. What an awesome waterfall, and what an epic location. This is just so, so pretty. Just amazing. I just love it. Absolutely love this spot. All right, that's it for this location. I'm really, really happy with those frames. Just awesome. I might play around with another composition over there. It's just such a tricky spot to film. If I do get another composition, I'll show you on the computer. All right, let's jump back on the computer and I'll show you how I put this one together. I'm not in my usual studio location. I'm on the road at the moment. So I'm on the laptop. Let me show you how I put this one together. All right, let's have a look here. We have got the focus stacked image for this rock in the foreground there. You can see nice and sharp there, beautiful. Everything else is dropping off focus. And then I decided not to use the exposure for the rocks. So I'm gonna use the exposure for the waterfall, which was around the 1 second shot for the rocks, and the rest of sort of mid-ground, the background to the waterfall. So I dropped one of the exposures off. I didn't need it, but it's always good to, if you think you're gonna need something when you're in the field, to take it, because you just never know. All right, let's have a look here. And here's our underexposed shot for our sky there. So over here in Photoshop, here's our blend here. Turn this group on. You can see I've done some cropping a little bit later on. That's why you can see those funky bits, but I fixed that with some generative fill a bit later, so don't be worried about that. But just let's look at the blending here. So this was the mid-ground and that blend. This was the sky blend there. You can see the sky, turn that off. And this was that rock blend in the foreground there. You can see that's brought in that sharpness there. And all together with a few other adjustments, this is what we ended up with in Photoshop. And you can see I did some filling. Remember I mentioned to you how I'm not a massive fan of those hot spots, so that's up there in the sky. So I did do some generative fill just to fill some leaves up in there and to just give it a bit more interest. You know, as I mentioned, that part of the sky, often above a waterfall, unless you've got great clouds or amazing light coming through, it can be just, you know, white, blown out blotches that aren't that exciting, even if you get the exposure right. So I think the generative fill in Photoshop's added some, and what I used was, I typed green gum leaves in the generative fill, and that actually did a pretty good job. I was really impressed. So that's how we put that together there. And you can see this is with some dodging and burning. We removed the stick there. We also relit the scene. You can see with the dodging and burning, the waterfall is now definitely the main element, which I really, really love. And then back over in Lightroom, here's our finished photograph here. I actually went with a 4x5 as well crop. And I like the 4x5. I think it just gives this, makes the waterfall more prominent in the scene because it's brought the sides in. You know, if you crop long, more of a 16:9 or the original crop out of camera, I found that it was nice and I liked it, but this allows me to get rid of the top bit of that sky as well, which is one thing, but it also brings in and makes the waterfall look a bit higher because it's not quite a vertical crop, but it's brought those sides in. You've still got a good view of what's around it. So I'm really happy with how that final crop turned out there. And I also did a bit of painting here. You can see painting in some clarity there, which adds that mid-tone contrast. It just gives separation to the streams. And the other cool thing about it, it makes that waterfall really stand out of the scene there. So your eye is directly leading towards it. So you can see here a beautiful leading line. I'm glad we went with this rock in the end. I feel like that's much stronger and it frames the bottom of the image nicely, having that rock there. And all in all, I think it turned out to be a nice image. All right, good people, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed another epic photo adventure. Had so much fun discovering that new waterfall, just an amazing location. Hey, do me a favor, show me some love, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment below. What did you think of that photograph? Did you like the final crop? Give me some feedback, I really love feedback. And if you're enjoying these videos, I'd much appreciate it if you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications, because my goal is 1,000 subscribers. So if you can help, show me some love and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.